Part 1. The FCC 2015 ruling kills competition. On page 12 of the FCC 2015 white paper, Part B, promoting investment with a modern Title II, 37. Today, our forbearance approach results in over 700 codified rules being inapplicable, a light touch approach for the use of Title II. This includes no unbundling for last mile facilities. There's more to it, but that means that existing ISPs don't need to rent their services to a startup ISP so they can use their hardware unbundled, meaning they don't need to lease their use of their hardware to others. So the only way for a startup to compete is to literally lay down their own cable, which is extremely expensive. Leasing out existing infrastructure is called local loop unbundling, or LLU. Now that's a rather odd ruling by Tom Wheeler, since we have this sort of practice in Canada and we've had it for a long time. With the big two providers in Eastern Canada at least being Bell and Rogers, there's a host of other ISPs that do exactly that, and they've been doing it for a while. They provide obviously comparable service, not better since it's the same hardware, but they offer better prices. If they didn't, there'd be no point. For example, for the most basic or lowest offering from Bell would be 3 megabits per second, and TechSavvy can give you a slightly higher rate, like 6 or 7 megabits, but for a lower cost. Now, TechSavvy offers other things like something called Sky-Fi service, which uses an antenna, and VoIP boxes called Tech Talk, all throughout Canada. The Canadian internet industry is highly regulated by the CRTC, but at least we have some choices. Now, the reason why I bring this up, at roughly the same time in 2015, the FCC was making its ruling. Also, in Canada, the CRTC ruled that major telecoms providing fiber to the home must allow smaller providers to purchase wholesale access to their networks. Bell Canada attempted to oppose the ruling, but failed. Now, gee, why would you think that one of the top 4 ISPs in Canada wanted to block a practice that would force competition with them? Think about that. Well, Tom Wheeler explicitly removed that from the 2015 FCC ruling, which is the opposite rule in Canada. Existing ISPs do not have to lease out their own lines to startup ISPs. FCC data in 2013 shows that 55% of Americans have no choice in their broadband provider. Competition is scarce because the FCC didn't require last mile unbundling or local loop unbundling into the 2015 ruling. This means the average American internet user is going to be paying more for low quality internet from only one option. I was going to talk about price caps the FCC put on offerings to businesses who want internet service, but those were removed this year in April, I believe. Price limits or caps or price fixing is a business form of suicide, as most historical examples of government will show us. Part 2. Making ISPs Title II or common carrier is ineffective. Defining ISPs like this is not only incorrect, it's ineffective. Suddenly you're a public service, not just a private entity trying to compete, which also means you have to offer a high-speed broadband package or something related with a price cap to businesses, and it must not be throttled or have any blocking access or do whatever else the FCC wants you to do now that you're a Title II. According to the FCC's own lawyers defending the order in court, ISPs that filter the internet fall outside of Title II and therefore can avoid the burdensome common carrier requirements. These requirements include regulation of interconnection, the need to gain FCC permission before launching new services like gaming and teleconferencing, and pending privacy regulations. Thus, the Internet rules of 2015 put the FCC in a tight spot. Agency officials want net neutrality norms, but they know they can't prohibit ISP filtering outright because the First Amendment in Section 230 issues. Understandably, they minimize this fact in the 2015 Open Internet Order. However, there is one line in the order that allows ISPs to block content that is unwanted by end users, citing a portion of the defunct 2010 Open Internet Order discussing Section 230 and the need to preserve parental controls. Further, buried in another footnote in the 2015 order, the agency cites family-friendly content filtering, which most ISPs and wireless carriers provide as an example of a beneficial network management. So the message from the FCC is this: offer filtered packages and you can avoid common carrier regulations. Traditional packages, however, put you in Title II. What this means is any ISP must offer a non-filtered package. They can still offer filtered packages, skirt around the net neutrality rules, and have a deregulated internet option. And again, as history has shown us, deregulation is usually the way most businesses are going, so you're probably on a a filtered line of some sort, you just don't know it. So what this means is A, existing ISPs can get around net neutrality by filtering services because of First Amendment in Section 230, which makes the 2015 ruling ineffective or moot, and thus B, ISPs have the option to be a non-broadband provider, thus avoiding Title II classification, even though technically they're offering high speed and can block and filter whatever the heck they want. Part 3. But what if blocking and filtering and paid prioritization goes away? If net neutrality is rescinded tomorrow, here's what's probably going to happen. Not much. You're going to be, well, enjoying the internet. You're not going to be suddenly price gouged. You're not going to have to renegotiate your contract. You're not going to lose services or start paying more. What you're paying for is not going to change. Your contract is still valid and must be upheld. There's nothing legally changing here for you. There is a ridiculous amount of hysteria from people online who do not know the technology or haven't read the white papers or do not know the industry. It's sad, and you get all these people just follow suit. Oh, the internet's going to end or something. What will happen is A, there's at least the potential you'll get a second ISP option, and thus rates will eventually go down. Definitely not overnight though. By the very least, what I talked about with the LLU, or local loop unbundling enforcement. And B, yes, it's possible an ISP may throttle or block some content, which, as I already stated, they can already do, and they do in fact, you just don't know about it. But they'll be transparent about it beforehand, as the new intended 210-page paper called Restoring Internet Freedom, released last month, states. This is from page 121 to 122. Now, I'm not going to read all the details, but I'll give you the headlines so you know what it means. We specifically require all ISPs to disclose blocking, throttling, affiliated prioritization, paid prioritization, which was what net neutrality was supposed to protect from, in a one-size-fits-all sort of manner with Title II regulations imposed. They also require congestion management, application-specific behavior, device attachment rules, and security. The ISP must also disclose performance characteristics, service descriptions, impact of non-broadband internet access service data services, and of commercial terms, such as price, privacy policies, and redress options, meaning an ISP's method of resolving problems from customers like customer care service, tier 2, call centers, help desk, that sort of thing. That's a lot more information that was previously needed to be disclosed to the FCC as well as to the public. If they don't comply with that, they're going to be in a lot of trouble, as they normally would have been. You contact the FCC or the FTC, and whoever will be in charge of monitoring these things by tomorrow, I don't know who it's going to be, they're going to be on their asses, as they, again, always have been. They can take them to court, they can fine them, it's a standard practice. The difference is they have to notify you before they start doing any of these things or before you start paying for something. This is more transparency. So the internet isn't going away. It's not going to start becoming more expensive. It's not going to be slower. With at least the opportunity of competition and more transparency, it's going to keep getting better, and it's going to keep doing that at a faster rate.